China and Russia for strategic partnership against the West. China and Russia have always maintained a close economic relationship. The two superpowers have been trading oil, gas, weapons, and other goods for many years. Now, China and Russia have formed an even stronger alliance. Both nations have considerable economic influence and authority worldwide. Together, their new strategic plan will have an effect worldwide. Just how big of an impact remains to be seen. Hello, and welcome to another video of Finance Sense, where we cover all the latest trends in the financial markets and the economy. Before we start, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment below if you enjoyed watching this video, and turn on the notification bell to keep posted. Antony Blinken, the USA Secretary of State, was expected to travel to Beijing. If it had taken place, this trip would have been the first visit by a Secretary of State from the United States to China since 2018. But due to recent events, the visit has been called off. A year ago, Chinese President Xi Jinping graciously greeted Russian President Vladimir Putin in Beijing for the commencement of the Olympics. At the time, Beijing was a very different place. After conversing and sharing a meal, the two heads of state agreed that the alliance between their countries would have no limitations. However, the Russian troops infiltrated Ukraine, which a few weeks later triggered a humanitarian catastrophe and massive destruction across the country. And the leaders of China abstained from issuing any kind of condemnation towards Moscow, and instead reiterated the Kremlin's assertions that NATO was to blame for the incident. Because of this, China's relationships, not just with Europe, but also with the United States, became even more strained. The alliance between the United States and China has been put under significant strain in recent years due to a number of issues, including those involving trade and human rights. So, a significant turning point in the relationship between the United States and China would have been highlighted by the visit of the Secretary of State from the United States. And this could have been the opportunity for the two countries to work together to find a way to collaborate and settle their issues in a way that would have benefited both of them. In addition, as part of China's efforts to mend its relationships with countries in the West, the country is shifting its stance on certain international issues. There has been a noticeable shift in Beijing's diplomatic tone as the city works to stabilize the ties it maintains with other countries. Furthermore, it is anticipated that China will highlight its position on peace and impartiality in future discussions with leaders from the United States and Europe. However, a different narrative emerges when one looks more closely at China's activities over the past year. Even though there has been a shift in public sentiment over the last year, China has continued with its usual pattern of developing its relationship with Russia by increasing the amount of trade they do with each other, strengthening the diplomatic interactions they have, and expanding the amount of joint military drills. In recent years, China and Russia's alliance, which they describe as having no limitations, has been growing deeper. In fact, it is seen as highly essential to China's goals of preserving national security and resisting a global order dominated by the United States. According to Alexander Gabuyev, who works for the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, the Chinese government is quite skilled at modifying its rhetoric to the audience that it is addressing. On the other hand, he does not perceive any signs of remorse on the part of China over its ties with Russia in the aftermath of the crisis in Ukraine. Instead, he claims that China is seizing the opportunities that have become available as a result of the crisis. The United States has been paying close attention to China's role in the current crisis that is taking place in Ukraine. But despite the fact that the United States government warned China several times, there is no conclusive proof that China has assisted Russia with monetary and military assistance. On top of that, the United States has recently expressed disapproval over reports that state-owned Chinese companies have supplied Russia with non-lethal equipment. Because of their involvement in the war, several Chinese businesses have been banned from doing business in the United States. However, most of these businesses have been cautious not to break the severe sanctions that the United States and its allies have placed against Moscow. China has always insisted that it is committed to playing a positive role in the peaceful resolution of the dispute, and it continues to make this claim. Putin further stated that China has voiced its worries and inquiries about the issue during a meeting. But China has recently extended its commercial ties with Russia by inaugurating the first of two permanent bridges crossing a vital border river. And last year, trade between the two countries hit a record high of $190 billion. This suggests that China is just acting as though it is impartial in the issue for the sake of appearances. In addition to this, it continues to play a high priority on protecting and advancing its economic interests while simultaneously strengthening its commercial ties with Russia. As of 2021, trade between China and Russia has increased by 30%. Its expansion is partially fueled by Chinese firms' inexpensive oil and coal purchases. In December of last year, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin engaged in their customary discussion at the end of each year. Xi thanked Putin for the improvement in trade numbers. Furthermore, he urged the two nations to strengthen their strategic cooperation and be more supportive of each other's growth and global partnerships. Meanwhile, concerns have been raised among America's Asian allies over the security partnership between China and Russia. Moreover, China recently dispatched over 2,000 military troops to Russia for joint military drills and sent tactical air patrols with Russia over the Sea of Japan and the East China Sea. Both the Japanese Prime Minister and the NATO Secretary General have expressed their worries about Russia's deepening military ties with China. Despite this, the connection between China and Russia continues to be an essential component of Beijing's foreign policy, and Russia is absolutely necessary for the expansion of China's influence in the United States. Furthermore, the alliance with Russia contributes to the weakening of US-led partnerships in both Europe and Asia. According to one analyst, China's alliance with Russia is more important than any other since it is directed against the United States and its alliances. According to him, China primarily aims to undermine these alliance structures. On the other hand, China has been making efforts recently to strengthen its diplomacy and its ties to the West. This is due to the fact that the nation's economy is now experiencing one of the worst performances it has seen in almost half a century, and the nation's main priority right now is to work on restoring the health of its economy. Analysts are in consensus that China's new approach to foreign policy is really a temporary pause in an otherwise aggressive plan. The governments of Western countries are paying careful attention to this shift in tone in order to figure out whether or not it will have an influence on the crisis that is now taking place in Ukraine. A number of European heads of state have expressed their hopes that China would be capable of exercising some of its influence on Russia in order to aid in reaching a peaceful end to the conflict. On the other hand, experts are skeptical about China's ability to do so and believe that Beijing is merely feeding these myths in order to achieve prestige. China is well aware of the fact that the source of the problems in its ties with Western nations goes far beyond its relationship with Russia. In addition, China is not going to give up on Russia because they feel that if Russia is defeated, China will be the next country to collapse. As a result, China will not risk damaging its relationship with Russia, even if doing so reduces the likelihood that it will be able to contribute to the successful resolution of the war. The connection that exists between China and Russia is quite essential. Thus, it is highly unlikely that China will engage in any activities that may jeopardize it. Hi, we hope that watching this video was interesting and that you learned something valuable. If you enjoyed it, please hit the notification button, like, subscribe, and watch more of our videos. Also, don't forget to share your comments in the comment section below. This is Finance Sense, helping you stay current on all the most recent changes in the financial markets and economy. Stay safe and look out for the next video.